the house across the street. My name is Jake. I'm 16 and I live in a boring, predictable suburb just outside Seattle. Our neighborhood looks like it came out of a catalog. White picket fences, trimmed lawns, identical houses, and equally identical neighbors. Everyone lives politely and by schedule, like clockwork. If someone paints their fence the wrong color, they get side-eyed at the next community meeting. In a word, dull. My way of surviving this was staying up late on Discord, editing creepy videos, and sometimes sending them to friends. Not much ever happened around here until the new neighbors moved into the house across the street. They arrived suddenly. No one had heard anything about the house being sold. It had stood empty for over a year after the previous family moved to California. Then, one night, around 3 a.m., I woke up to a strange sound, like someone scratching at the asphalt. I looked out the window. A black van without plates stood in front of the house. People in black coats and gloves silently unloaded furniture. Odd shapes, covered in fabric more like stage props than real furniture. One of them noticed me watching and looked up. Then, click his tongue. Slowly. Click, click, click. I recoiled from the window. When I looked again, they were gone. The house was dark, but I could have sworn someone was standing behind the curtains. The next day, unlike normal neighbors, they didn't come out to say hi or mow the lawn. Nobody appeared in the morning, nor all day. Only in the evening did the door open and a child walked out. A boy, around 10. He walked out backward, never turned around, made it to the road, turned to face the house, and just stood there, staring directly at me. Then walked back the same way, backward, the whole time. Chills ran down my spine. I told my parents. Dad waved it off. Probably some artists. Or just weird, Mom said. Maybe the kid has a condition. Don't pay attention. But I kept watching. Each night got worse. On the third night, I saw them. Mom, Dad, 2 kids, walking around their house in gas masks, even indoors. When I tried to film it on my phone, the footage came out black. Only audio. Scratching. Like someone clawing at glass from the inside. I tried again with different devices, same result. The camera refused to see them. Sometimes they just stand by the windows, motionless. Sometimes at night, they sit outside in chairs, facing the moon like it's a TV. And sometimes they appear in my yard. Once I woke up, and they were at my window, all 3, with their backs turned. Dad, Mom, and 1 child, just standing there. I wanted to call Dad, but he was already in my room, perfectly calm. "Why are you screaming?" he asked. "They're right there." At the window, I pointed. He looked nothing, just grass swaying in the wind. I decided to act. Set up a hidden camera, but in the morning, instead of footage, black screen and a message, "Jake, don't. We can watch too." A couple days later, we got a gift from the neighbors. A box labeled, "From the Travelers." That's how they signed it. Inside cookies. Asphalt gray, smelled like gasoline moldy sugar. Dad tried one, said huh. Tastes like memories. Strange, right? I dreamed I grew a third eye right here. He pointed to his forehead. Now I can tell when you're lying. And he didn't blink. All day, Mom stopped leaving the bedroom. One day she painted all over the kitchen wall. Circles, symbols, weird words. I walked and she just stared at the wall and whispered, "They're already inside. Can't you feel them? They're in the sound, in the glass, in the bread, in us." I had enough. That night I snuck into their house. Back door was unlocked. Inside, silence. The walls were padded, the floors warm. Alive almost, in the kitchen jars. One held human teeth, another wet hair clumps, the third a moving eye. In the basement a TV, showing my room. Live feed. I was sitting there, typing, but I was here, so who's there? I bolted, ran across the street back home, but inside, it wasn't home anymore. Same jars, gas masks, photos. One had me in it. Eyeless. Caption. Guest registered. Dad met me at the door, holding a kettle, smiling. Too wide. You wanted friends, Jake? Everyone here's very friendly. He handed me a cup, black liquid inside. It pulsed. Drink. You'll be more understandable to them. I ran, hid in the shed. I'm writing this now, shaking, in the dark. I don't know where my parents are. They're not them. The neighbors, they're not human. I saw one of them twist their neck 180 degrees and didn't even flinch. One kid floated up the stairs. Mom doesn't speak anymore, just stares at walls and whispers. He's almost ready. I fled the shed at dawn. Around 5 a.m., that dead stillness where the world feels afraid to breathe. I knew if I stayed, I'd become like them. It wasn't about surviving anymore. I just didn't want to forget who I was. The street was empty. Every window, every door shut. Like the neighborhood had stopped being residential. Like everyone gave up. My phone was dead. No signal. No GPS. Just a black screen and a crack that hadn't been there before. I walked quietly, fast, sticking to hedges. Behind Mr. Graham's fence, something moved. I sped up. Parked cars lined the street, but all had the same plate. I knew where I was going. The city. Where there's noise. People who don't smile when no one's joking. It was about 11 miles away. Every step echoed in my head like a ticking clock. I kept feeling like someone was following, matching my rhythm. But every time I looked back, street was empty. I made it to the highway. Cars sped by. Drivers never looked at the side. I noticed they never turned their heads, only straight. Too straight. I tried hitchhiking, nothing, until one pickup stopped. A man in his 40s sat inside, hat, plaid shirt, calloused hands. He looked at me without smiling. That was already a miracle. He asked, "You're right, kid?" I opened my mouth to answer but couldn't. My throat tightened, like something inside wouldn't let me speak. He noticed, nodded, gestured to the seat. "Hop in. I'll take you to the nearest station." I nodded. Got in. He turned on the radio, a Latin broadcast. I couldn't understand the words, but suddenly realized he didn't hear it. Only I did. He asked, "You from Lindenhall?" I croaked. "Yes, how do you know?" He didn't answer, just looked in the mirror. I followed his gaze, a white car trailing us. No headlights, no driver. He swerved onto a dirt road. "We'll shake them. But listen carefully and remember," he spoke fast, like there wasn't much time. "They're not travelers. That's what they call themselves for outsiders. Really, they're like moss. They grow into people, through sound, through food. They don't infect, they rewrite. First sleep, then speech. Then you forget your parents' names, then your own. It's not a disease. It's a collection. The suburb is a museum. Every resident an exhibit. Cold sweat dripped down my spine. Why do they do it? I asked. They don't know. They just need more. Always more. He stopped at an abandoned motel, handed me an old notebook. These are coordinates. Go there. People who haven't crossed yet. They can help. But get there before the next full moon. Otherwise, he didn't finish. Just then, his reflection stood up behind him. In the window, not moving, just black eyes like oil. Go, he whispered. I'm not me anymore, but you still can be. I jumped out. Heard a heavy thud behind me. He stayed. Gave his last minute to me. The pickup disappeared behind the bend. I was alone, on a dirt road, in the middle of fields and choking fog. The notebook in my pocket burned like something inside it was breathing. I opened it. Coordinates. A drawing. A square with a circle inside. Beneath it, remember who you are before they remember for you. I didn't know where to go. My phone was dead. The world felt turned off. Even the birds had gone silent. I walked aimlessly for hours until I saw it, an old church, abandoned. It stood there like it had been waiting for me. The door was slightly ajar. The light inside wasn't warm. It was dim, greenish, like the flicker of hospital bulbs from another era. Inside sat a single figure, an old woman, dry, her face like crumpled paper. She sat in the center of the room, surrounded by candles, all of them black, none of them burning. Carry the mark, she said without lifting her eyes. What? She pointed to my pocket. I pulled out the notebook. It hissed, literally hissed like a snake. The old woman winced. You thought they wouldn't mark you. Foolish. Everything they give, they claim. I tried to throw it away, it clung to my hand. The paper sprouted threads that burrowed into my skin. Too late, she said. The only way out now is to finish the cycle. Bring them someone new. I recoiled. No, I'm not like them. Then you'll become them. She held out a knife. Strange, its blade carved from translucent stone, like ice. On it names, hundreds. Some were children's, one of them mine. It's either you, she said, or someone else. But the price must be paid. Otherwise they'll come for everything. Then she vanished, simply dissolved into dust. I was left alone in the empty church, knife in hand, my name etched into the blade. I wanted to throw it away, but my hand wouldn't move. My fingers clenched the hilt on their own. My skin seemed fused to it. I could feel the knife's weight in my mind. It whispered, "It's time. Time to go home, Jake." And I did. But everything was different. Not how I remembered it. The houses stood closer together, the fences lower, the trees taller, as if they'd been growing while I was gone. But most of all, there was no sky. Only a black dome, dark gray humming. The wind didn't come from the sky, it came from beneath the ground. I walked up to my house. There was light and Mom's voice. "Jake, dinner's getting cold." I froze. My heart pounded. That sentence, it sounded like I'd heard it 1,000 times, like a looped recording. The door was open. At the table sat Mom, Dad, and my younger brother, whom I never had, all of them eating, all of them laughing. All of them had gas masks resting on the table, as if they'd just taken them off for dinner. "Sit down, Jake," Dad said. "Your favorite." "Meat soup." I said nothing. I looked at him and saw how his eyes reflected me with a delay, not following, just mimicking. Mechanically, like mirrors lagging behind reality. Mom raised a spoon. The meat in her soup moved. It breathed. Thin tendrils grew from it, like roots sprouting from a tuber. I stepped back. "Son," Dad said, "we only want your silence. We mean you no harm. Just be like everyone else. Forget what was." My brother stood up. He was taller than he should be. Much taller. His face melted, but the smile remained clear. Too clear. I grabbed the knife. The blade flared not with light, but with negative shadow. The room shrank like lungs before a scream. And then they spoke. All at once. Mom, Dad, the brother, the voice from the TV, the school counselor, the neighbor, even me. all together. If you are not with us, you are against. If you are against, you are the replacement. Take your place, Jake. Become the next. Become the final. I screamed and hurled the knife at the mirror above the fireplace. It shattered. Behind it wasn't a wall. It was void, fluid, pulsing. A hand emerged, then another, then a face, my face. Only it wasn't smiling, it was crying. I don't want this, I whispered. It moved its lips. Me neither. I stepped forward, then back, and everything froze. The whole scene still, like a stage, like nothing was real, just rehearsal. The choice is made, said a voice behind me. You stayed. I closed my eyes. After the mirror, everything changed. Time wasn't linear anymore. Space stopped making sense. I don't remember how I left the house, only that it was morning and my feet were muddy like I'd been running all night. The street was empty, the houses like a model set, trees like drawings. Only the sound of the wind was real. It scratched at my ears like nails on glass. I walked, no idea where. The city greeted me empty. Mannequins in store windows with eyes. Buses driving in circles. The signs on them read the same thing. Welcome back, Jake. I went to school. It was open. Empty halls. Smelled of formalin. On the classroom chalkboard in my handwriting, if you want to leave, open door 13. I searched, counted doors. On the 13th, nothing. No handle, no lock, just an indentation, like it had grown in. I pressed my palm to it and fell through. I landed in a shopping mall, an old one, like from the 19s, but it was flooded ankle deep. The water was black thick. From the speakers, a lullaby played, very slowly off-key, distorted. I walked between store windows. In one, mom, standing, smiling. In the next, dad, stroking a gas mask. In the third, me, no eyes. A placard beneath it, the last original. I screamed. The glass wouldn't break. I pounded on it, laughed. The laughter didn't come from outside. It came from inside me. I don't know how I ended up in the elevator. It was going down. For a long time, the numbers on the panel weren't digits, not letters either, symbols, something in between. At floor 7, the elevator flung me out. Literally, the doors snapped open with a loud crack, and the air hit me like steam from a hospital laundry room, wet, sore, tinged with metal and smoke. The corridor was narrow, with a low ceiling, like a service tunnel. Concrete walls stained black. Dust hung in the air like it had been sprayed intentionally. I walked. The lights flickered. The ceiling bulbs glowed neon blue, making my skin look gray. Concrete groaned under my feet. Somewhere up ahead, clicking, faint at first, then louder. Click, click, click. I froze. From around the corner came something. Maybe a person. Too tall, spine bent, head twisted sideways. Face covered by an old gas mask, rusted filter, a drawn-on smile. It crawled on all fours. Glossy dress shoes clicked against the floor. Fast. Asymmetrical. I bolted. It didn't run, it scuttled, like a spider. So fast I barely made the corner. A metal door right in front of me. I pushed. Unlocked. Inside dark. Huge. At the center a screen, as big as a movie theater. On it me, standing in this exact room, but moving a second behind. A recording. No live feed, with a delay. Behind me a rustle. I turned. They stood in the shadows, all of them. The neighbors, my parents, the teacher. Random people from the city, standing, watching. I shouted, "What do you want?" "Why me?" Silence. One of them stepped forward, my mom, but her eyes were gone. Black fluid streamed from the empty sockets. She opened her mouth, and my voice came out. "Because you saw, because you noticed, because you left the room when you were supposed to stay quiet." I grabbed something off the floor, a pipe, heavy, rusted. My hands trembled. They took a step, then another. I screamed. Back, Monster Mom kept moving. The rest followed, like a scene, like a play you couldn't stop. I swung, hit the first one, then the second. I didn't know if I was hurting people or things. I just kept swinging until all I could hear was my own scream, echoing inside my skull. Then everything froze. The screen in the center blinked off. Lights flickered. I stood there, soaked in blood. Bodies around me or not bodies. I didn't look. The door was open. The elevator lit. I got in. It shot upward, too fast. My ears popped. My head throbbed like a second heart in my skull. Ding! The door opened. I stood in the foyer of my house. Silence. Too clean. The air felt filtered, as if sprayed from a can. No smell. No dust. Everything sterilized. The clock read 4:23 p.m. Out the window dusk. Kids were riding bikes. The neighbor, the first one, was watering his lawn, smiling, not looking at the house. Perfect. Too perfect. I went upstairs, laid on my bed, heard a voice from downstairs. Jake, dinner. Mom's voice. Warm. Familiar. But something was wrong. Too crisp. Too even. I didn't answer. I looked out the window. On the second floor of the house across the street, they were there. Same positions. Same order. Like a photo someone had slid into the frame of reality. They were watching me. Their faces calm, not hostile, understanding. As if saying, you did everything you could, now just live. But I know, something came up with me. Something not me. I feel it breathing inside in a different rhythm. Quiet, not speaking, just waiting. I look at my hands and don't recognize them. I want to scream, to run, to call for help, but instead I just sit and stare back, and I know that sooner or later, I'll walk outside too. I'll smile. I'll water the lawn, and no one, not even me, will know the exact moment when everything ended. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It helps the darkness spread. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next nightmare. And remember, don't listen to the whispers in the dark.